What is up, fam? Welcome to the Jessica Piera Show. And in today, we're going to be talking about all things sex, money, energy, and emotional vampires. We're going to be talking about who is draining you energetically, emotionally, and mentally. And we're going to be breaking this down in some very spicy, controversial conversations. So what if I told you your relationship with sex is directly connected to your bank account and your sense of self-worth? I know, crazy, right? Who you sleep with affects more than just your emotions. It affects your success, money, and confidence, and even your physical health. If you've ever felt exhausted, unmotivated, or financially stuck after a relationship or sexual encounter, you're not imagining it. Sex is an energy exchange, and today we're breaking down how the wrong person can drain your power and what you're going to do about it. This episode is going to make you rethink everything because I'm sharing a deeply personal experience that made me realize just how powerful sexual energy is, and it's actually what made me start going on this deep journey with myself, because I ended up in a very short relationship that almost ended my business because of this sexual energy transfer, and I was holding his self-worth issues, but then I was also mirroring my own feminine self-worth issues. So we're going to be diving deep into how that relationship affected me emotionally, mentally, and physically. So if you've ever felt disconnected, stuck in toxic cycles with the wrong people, or like your energy is being drained in a relationship, this one is for you. I'm telling you, this stuff is real and it's actually backed by science. And as I start to unpack my own story, you may have some moments where you're thinking oh my gosh, this has actually happened to me. And suddenly the light bulbs are gonna come on and everything's gonna make sense and all the good stuff. So let's dive a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna be talking about why sex is more than just physical, it's an energetic transaction. Your sexual energy is your creative energy, your life force, and your ability to receive success and money. The same energy that fuels passion in the bedroom fuels business, confidence, and abundance. If you're giving your energy to low frequency people, you're literally leaking your power. Now, I really love this. I actually have studied a lot from Esther Hicks, and she's a powerful channeler. If you've never ever listened to any of her audiobooks or if you've never bought any of her books, I highly suggest that you do. I have studied so much from her, and what she talks about is the emotional scale, okay? And there's a really cool chart. You can literally just Google this and look on images. And there is an emotional chart that shows you the frequencies and the energies that we hold within ourselves. Now, at the very, very top of the emotional chart is enlightenment. This is like living in the 5D dimension. This is like faith-based, God-based. This is like tapping into exponential growth and power. Now, as human beings, it's very, very hard for us to actually live in that dimension. However, enlightenment is feeling fully whole and fully at peace with yourself and in full joy and abundance. But typically, we all live in a 3D world. That's where we live. Now, in your 3D world, you're going to feel a range of emotions, okay? So at the very top, we've got enlightenment, and then at the very bottom, we have shame, we have anger, we have resentment, we have sadness, we have fear. And at the very bottom, that is what we call low frequency. At the very top, where we feel enlightenment, where we feel joy, where we feel abundance, where we feel gratitude, and we feel happiness and excitement and all of those good vibe feelings, that is high frequency. Now, throughout the day, you're probably going to dip between many frequencies. You wake up in the morning, you feel absolutely amazing. And then someone pisses you off and says something that really gets under your skin, and then you're angry. But then 10 minutes later, something happens that's amazing and you're back feeling happy. So throughout the day, we're gonna shift through frequencies, we're gonna shift through emotions. However, when I'm talking through this episode about low frequency people means these are people that have not done the inner work. These are people that are suffering with trauma, whether that is generationally passed down trauma or current existing trauma because they've experienced something when they were younger, or their parents have experienced something, or your great-great-grandparents have experienced something and it's passed down through genetically, or they've been through their own traumatic experiences. Now, when I'm talking about trauma is relative to the experience. My own personal trauma is maybe very different to your own personal trauma. And that can look in so many different ways. That can be trauma connected to your parents and how they brought you up. You may have had a very smothering mother who was just completely overbearing, or you may have had a very distant father that didn't show any emotion to you, didn't show you love, didn't connect with you. And then you may have gone through relationships where you've had a really bad breakup and that really affected you. Maybe you dated a narcissist and they turned your life upside down in a matter of a month. Maybe you were in a relationship with a gaslighter that completely messed you up, and that's going to create some form of shame or some form of anger or resentment. It's going to create you guilt. It's going to leave an imprint on your soul. And when you have an imprint on your soul, and when you have experienced something that is energetically, and when I say energetically, I mean like your physical body. You have the mind, that is your subconscious and your unconscious and your conscious, that holds every single memory of your entire life. And then you have your soul, which is your body, and that's what holds all of your emotions. It holds everything that you have ever been through in your life. So when we're talking about frequency, I'm not talking about your head and your beliefs. I'm talking about your physical body and the energy that your body holds. So low frequency people tend to have a lot of shame. They have a lot of guilt. They have a lot of resentment. They have a lot of anger. They have a lot of fear. And that is being held in the body. And when you are in a relationship or you're dating someone that may be low frequency, there could be a very high chance that you're actually attracting that type of person if you haven't done the inner work. And at the time of this relationship that I ended up in, I had done inner work, but I hadn't done the inner work that I thought that I needed to do. I did a lot of mind work, but I never had done a lot of soul work. So I was attracting low frequency men in my life. So you're probably wondering at this point, like, well, what does this have to do with my money, Jess? Like, tell me how to make more money. Tell me how to make more abundance. Well, this has everything to do with your money because we're human beings. And if you're dating and if you are in relationships, which most of us are, then this all relates to your money and your power. This relates to your purpose. This relates to your career growth. This relates to everything. So if you're wondering why money isn't flowing, or opportunity is not flowing, or why abundance isn't flowing, or why prosperity is not flowing, and you're wondering why you feel drained or why you're struggling in love, look at who you're exchanging your energy with. Okay, so I'm going to go dive a little bit deep into this story that I was telling you about. And obviously for this podcast, I don't want to actually say the names of these people because that would just be quite damaging to people's reputation. But I'm going to use the name John in this story. Now, I realized that I was in an energetic trap. And this person I had actually met before I started my business, before I ever became a successful entrepreneur, before money was even a real thing in my life. And I had met this person back then. And back then, I was riddled with so much trauma. I was $50,000 in bad debt. I had nothing to my name. Me and my sister were scraping by off of $120 in our bank account, every 2 weeks, struggling to pay our rent. My father was chronically ill with drug abuse, in and out of hospital, having strokes, heart attacks. My mum wasn't in good health. She had lost her house. Me and my sister were just figuring out how the hell we're going to get through life. And I was at the peak of my depression. I was at the peak of my anxiety. I was at the peak of literally just wanting to give up and trying to find hope in life. And I had met this person at a time where my frequency was very, very low. And I actually don't remember much of that first encounter. All I remember was that he was a one-night stand. That was it. And I don't remember much of that night because I was completely wasted. And when I would get completely wasted, there's so many memories subconsciously that I don't actually remember. And I know that I don't remember this because there was so much trauma associated with having sexual intercourse with men. My soul would energetically leave my body to cope with the trauma response that I actually didn't know at the time was a trauma response. So fast forward years later, and this is the funny thing about how the universe, God, you'll hear me say God a lot, but whatever you believe in, divine power, whatever it is that you believe in, but I'll say the word God throughout this podcast. But it's really wild how God will bring people back into your life, and you really have to have discernment about who you're willing to accept in your life again. And there's a reason why people come in your life and then they're taken away from your life. And there's a lot of people that are not meant to even return back into your life. But this is all a part of the universal test and law. The universe and God is going to test you and say hey, you've done all this inner work, let me put someone back in your life and let's see if you can pass the test. And if you choose to take this person back into your life, even though there was a reason why they were removed in the first place, whether you learned that lesson or you did not, you're going to learn the lesson the second time. And the first time, okay, cool. The second time, joke's on you if something happens. But if you then go back to that person the third time, well, you're just an idiot. So the second time we started dating, and at the time, I was a 7-figure business owner. I'm externally confident. But internally, what I didn't realize at that time was that I was deeply struggling to connect to my feminine energy and my own self-worth. And that feeling was unresolved. And they were unresolved wounds from my past sexual trauma. And this whole concept of feminine and masculine energy, I wasn't really exposed to this deep inner work until around this time of my journey. Prior to that, I had done timeline therapy, I had done breathwork therapy, I had done screaming therapy where you smash a pillow and you scream into a pillow and you rage it out. I had done hypnotherapy. I had done so much deep inner work, but that was all of the mind. That was subconscious, deep work. And then moving and shifting energy out of my body through screaming and breath work and communicating and talking and getting everything out. But I had never done real feminine self-worth work. So this relationship brought up everything. When we were together, and maybe you'll resonate with this, maybe you won't, or maybe you'll see maybe some of your own encounters that you've been through, come through my story. But at the time, I had found out a month in, that he was battling a severe addiction to porn and masturbation. And that was really shocking for me because I had never experienced something like that before. I had never ever, not that I had known of, because I had barely ever gotten close enough with a man to even have this conversation. But when I was first told this, I was really shocked. I didn't really know how to handle it. But it made sense because he was unable to ejaculate, and then that was triggering my self-worth. That was triggering me. that was triggering my femininity. And I was craving love, and I was craving attention, and I was craving to feel good enough. And that triggered a lot of my own internal battles that I was having with myself. And at first, like, I was shocked, I was hurt, I was so confused, and I was questioning why I was not enough. What was I doing wrong? Why wasn't he attracted enough to me? And is it because I'm not feminine enough? Is it because I'm not lovable? Is it because I'm not kind enough? Is it because of me? And I kept blaming myself to the point where I was trying to fix him, and I was trying to get an outcome, and I was leading so much from masculine energy, but then I was also blaming myself, and I felt guilty, and I was holding shame, and I was constantly blaming myself, thinking that I was the problem and that maybe I could fix him. But then I realized not long later that this wasn't about me, but it kind of was. And this is where the dynamics of relationships and who you attract in your life is so crazy, because everything is a mirror. What he was experiencing and how he was feeling about himself and his own personal situation, it was a mirror. And it was a mirror showing me where I still had deep wounds around love, validation, and self-worth. He was disconnected from real intimacy, and so was I. He was avoiding vulnerability, and I was struggling to surrender into my own feminine energy. Do you see the mirror here? He was disconnecting from intimacy, and I was and avoiding vulnerability. So he had an avoidance attachment style, and I was struggling to surrender into my own feminine energy. So I was avoiding and disowning and dismissing my own femininity. So it was a mirror of both ways. And his addiction made him emotionally unavailable, and my anxious attachment style made me chase that unavailability. I was trying to fix him, hoping that if I fixed him, then maybe he would love me. Hoping that if I fixed him, then maybe things would be better, and then maybe we would be in a long-term relationship. And the most crazy fucked up part, which we all do this in relationships, is like, I would think like, he's the one, he's amazing, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this person, I'm gonna have children with this person, I'm gonna get married. Like, no. He was not the person to get married to, but at the time, when you're in such a trauma response, and you're going through something that is triggering your own self-worth, and when you're with a low frequency person and it triggers you, sure, there's a moment where you can try and heal that, and you can, but if this is like very deep somatic trauma, then that's just going to affect you, and then you're both like somewhat trauma bonding. You're trauma bonding in this weird, messed up way without even realizing it. And if you don't have the level of self-awareness, or you don't have the knowledge, which at the time I had no idea what was going on, I was just like, I'm just not good enough. That's it. I'm not good enough. And at the same time, I'm thinking like, there is something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. It's me. And at the time I was feeling self-doubt. I was feeling not good enough. Suddenly my business, I stopped making money. I felt everything was hard. Money wasn't coming to me. Money wasn't flowing to me. I started having lots of problems in my business. My Instagram shut down. My Instagram DMs were blocked. I was having all these problems around money, abundance, success. And prior to us having sexual intercourse, I did not have those problems. Money came to me. Money flowed to me. Abundance flowed to me. Everything flowed to me. Everything was great. I was living in Bali. I had an amazing life here. I had a villa. I had all these amazing things. I end up in this relationship. I moved to Sydney. And everything slowly starts crumbling down. Why? Because his energetic frequency became my energetic frequency. I started attracting all of his energy and it became mine. And that then dropped me from where I was at in my journey and my inner work healing. And that dropped my frequency down to the point where it triggered what was inside of me. Now, I'm not sad that this happened. I'm actually grateful, because I wouldn't be able to be here today and tell you the story and be able to educate you on this, something that I had no idea about at the time. I'm grateful for it because that's what started my deep feminine energy work. And that's what made me look at my feminine self-worth, because that mirror showed me that what he was avoiding and what he was going through in his own life showed me that I was doing that with my own femininity. And that was a problem, because I wasn't connected to my emotions. I wasn't connected to my body. I hadn't healed the sexual trauma that I had been through from being sexually abused at 13 and then having so many sexual partners throughout all of my teenage life, chasing love, hoping that maybe if I have sex with this person will love me. So that brought up so much for me. But what that really made me show is that you have to be very you have to have that discernment when you're trying to pick who you're going to have a sexual relationship with, and you should understand their background. You should be having these conversations. Not one point did I even think to ask about sexual history in the beginning first 30 days of us talking. He asked me a lot about my sexual past, and I told him everything. I have been through this, I've been through this, I had this problem, but I never thought to ask him about his. Maybe if I had have asked him about his sexual past, maybe I would have found out a lot earlier and I could have prevented a lot of this. But at the same time, it is what it is. The breaking point was, I remember the exact moment I did realize I was absorbing all of his energy. I wasn't feeling emotional drained. I was physically and mentally exhausted. Creativity gone, money going down. My success felt harder to maintain, and I felt like my entire system was being short-circuited by this toxic energy exchange. And that's the moment that I knew that I had to take my power back. But not only did I have to take my power back, I had to do the inner work. And I couldn't avoid it because I was so goddamn triggered. I was so triggered. I had to figure out how I was going to get myself back to where I was and how I was going to detach myself from that energy. But the only way to detach yourself from the energy is to go within. You have to go within to yourself, and you have to go to the depths of your soul in order for you to detach from someone else's energy, but then also heal yourself, which is the most important part. So I bet you at this point you're wondering, well, Jess, how does all of this actually happen? How does it happen? What does it look like? Well, I want to just dive into just real quick about the frequency imbalances, and I'm going to talk about the alpha and the beta brain beta. I always say this wrong. Oh my gosh, people are going to laugh at me. I can guarantee you my sister is on this, listening to this right now, and I can guarantee she's probably laughing at how I said that. The beta brainwave effect. I always say that word wrong. I can't, I die. Oh my gosh, I'm not perfect. So when a person is in an emotionally draining sexual dynamic, their body is in a constant stress mode, okay? And Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this, and I also want to give him credit because this is who I learned this from. He talks about the science behind the body and the mind, okay? So the beta brain waves is a stress response, and it's the fight or flight. It means survival mode, okay? And this blocks creativity, success, and the receiving. Now, your alpha brain waves, your relaxed, your feminine magnetism, your abundance, your attraction, and your power, that is what creates your success. That is up the higher emotional scale, where we've got the alignment at the top, and then at the very bottom we have shame. Well, where shame sits is where the porn addiction, the avoidant attachment, and the low frequency people will sit. They'll sit in the beta mode at the bottom of the emotional scale because they have shame, they have resentment, they have guilt, they have anger, and they're energetically, their body, their soul, their heart center is sitting at that level, and they're operating from a stress response, from a fight or flight response. Now, the trick here is to heal that and then get into a state of abundance, and to get into the state of the alpha wavelength, which is peace, joy, healing, love. And when we get to that point, the only way to get there is through healing yourself and doing the deep work that so many of us avoid doing. And we just constantly attract the same relationships, the same people in our life, the same situations, just different faces. So if you're struggling in life, business or love, it might not be you, it might be the energy you're absorbing from the people you're connected to. The attachment wounds that mirror in relationships, I want to go through that just a little bit. So if you are an attachment anxious style, you're constantly seeking validation, constantly overgiving and feeling like you have to earn love. Now, that's me. That is totally me, and I'm trying to heal that at the moment, is trying not to be overgiving, having boundaries, having standards, actually communicating with people in the dating phase rather than just saying like, this man is the one, I'm gonna marry him, and then only to find out 3 months later that it's literally turned my life upside down. And then there's the avoidant. So this person is emotionally unavailable, like my partner, like him, John, who was addicted to pornography, addicted to masturbation, and he was energetically and emotionally unavailable, especially through intimacy. And that is addiction-driven detachment. And then there's the avoidant attachment. So this person fears closeness, avoids emotional intimacy, and numbs with distractions, okay? Now, this person struggles to be fully present in relationships, causing an energetic disconnection. Now, a secure attachment, which is what we all should be trying to get to, this is why we do the deep work, this is why we do the work. We all need to get to a place of a secure attachment or a secure relationship. And this is where you can hold space for love, connection, and self-worth without overgiving or chasing. And the only way to do that is, like I said, is to do the work. So if you're anxiously attached, like you're chasing people who can't fully connect, and if you're avoidant, you're running from the very thing that will heal you, then it's time to go deep. You're gonna have to do some deep inner work. So I just want to leave you real quick with a few little tips that you can you can do for yourself to check in with yourself, and also just how to get your power back after you've maybe been in a situationship, a one-night stand, a relationship, any sexual encounter that has involved two physical human beings touching one another. I want to give you just a few little tips that can help you. So number one, you're going to audit like who you share your energy with. Okay, so I want you to have a look at the people that are around you. If you are dating multiple people right now, or if you're in a sexual relationship with multiple people, don't forget their energy becomes your energy. Whatever they're carrying becomes what you're carrying. If they have years and years and years of trauma, sister, brother, you're holding on to it. You're holding on to everything that person is holding on to. So I want you to evaluate who is in your life, who is in your circle, and I want you to see and ask yourself, like, does this person truly elevate me, or do they deplete me? Am I with this person based on hope? Am I putting this person on a pedestal thinking like, oh, maybe they're the one, but like deep down, you know, like they're not the one. They're just not the one. Or do you have even just friendships? I'll speak into this real quick, like friendships, people that are just, they deplete, they're like energy vampires. They suck the life out of you. It's like their misery and them talking about their misery makes them feel better. And because you're just a really nice person and you are a people pleaser, you just constantly put up with it. And the same thing about like the guys that you're probably dating. Like if he talks too much about himself and all he does is talk about himself, and you walk away feeling depleted, like you haven't been seen, you haven't been heard, your needs are not met, then why the hell are you hanging out with this person? Like, I want you to do an energy check and actually evaluate and go through every single person that you are speaking to right now or you're sleeping with and figure out, like, does this person actually lift me up? Do they bring me joy? Do they bring me security? Do they bring me emotional safety? Or does this person deplete the fuck out of me, and when I leave I feel like I need a nap? You need to check on that. The second part is I want you to recognize and break toxic patterns, okay? Stop repeating the same cycle that drains your self-worth. If you look at all of your past people that you're dating or the people that you're dating now, I want you to really check in with yourself and ask yourself, like, is this the same person that I've been dating for the last year, 2, 5, 10 years? And does this person just have a different face? You will notice, and this is where self-awareness comes in, and self-awareness is so powerful for transformation. You will notice that you are dating the same types of people over and over and over and over and over and over again. They just have a different face, a different smell, different body. They live a different life, somewhat of a different life, but you will notice that the patterns and the behaviors are all the same. But the thing is you are mirroring that. It's not them that's the problem. You're the problem. You are the problem. And the only way to fix your self-worth is to go within, but you have to recognize the patterns that you're seeing in other people, because those patterns and behaviors will tell you more about yourself than it does about them. And then the next one is I want you to stop trying to fix emotionally unavailable people, okay? If someone is emotionally unavailable, it's not your job to fix them. It's your job to fix yourself. There is a part of yourself that you are mirroring, and you have to actually find, well, where am I disassociating from myself? Where am I dismissing my own feelings, my own needs? How am I not connecting to myself? Where am I lacking boundaries or not emotionally connecting with parts of me? And then you have to stop dating unemotionally, that's not even a goddamn word, but unavailable people, and that's how you break that thread. That's how you break it. You just don't have time for it. You need to up your standards. You just don't have time for people that are unavailable. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to heal them. They need to fix themselves. They need to heal themselves. It's not your job. And then the last part is reclaim your feminine energy. Now, this is particularly for women. You need to reclaim your feminine energy. You need to tap into your feminine self-worth. Confidence is not feminine self-worth. Confidence has nothing to do with femininity or your self-worth. That's all a mind thing, and it's your ego telling you you're so goddamn great. What you need to connect with is your own feminine self-worth, and that's your vulnerability. That is your heart. That is your ability to be emotionally open and emotionally available without walls and without trying to protect yourself. Okay, and you need to shift from doing and proving into receiving and trusting. And then the final one, I promise, is you're going to reclaim your sexual discipline. This is for men, okay? Reclaim your sexual discipline. Okay, stop wasting energy on low value, draining interactions, okay? Anything that is toxic behavior, like pornography, masturbation, even, being in this is, no judgment, this is a no judgment zone, but being in like open relationships and all the rest, like all of this is patterns and behaviors that is all stemmed from a trauma response. Like you're operating in a beta, a brain wave, and you need to get to a place where you're operating in the alpha brain wave. And when you do that, you are going to be able to provide women with emotional stability, emotional support, emotional safety. And until you can get rid of those toxic habits that you may have, if you do, please seek help. I'm not a therapist, but please seek help. Do it for yourself, because the moment that you do, and the moment that you're able to open up your heart center, and the moment that you're able to actually feel emotions and feelings, is the moment that you're actually able to have intimate relationships with the opposite sex, and actually build stable relationships with other people. So to wrap it up, energy is your most valuable currency. If you protect it, you'll attract more love, success, and abundance effortlessly. The people we attract, they are mirrors reflecting the parts of us that still need healing. And that's it from the very first episode. If you love this, please give it a thumbs up. If you found this super valuable, please leave me a comment down below. Your feedback really, really helps. This is a brand new season. I'm so freaking excited. Hopefully you resonated with this. Hopefully you got some golden nuggets. I love you all. Be super amazing, and goodbye, fam.